Hey guys, this week we're welding on that fender flare. Hey guys, welcome back to Project Tallhoe. Last week we were able to get that fender arch all fitted to the back corner. This week we're going to get that welded in and ground back. If you're enjoying all the shenanigans around here, please hit the like button, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate the support. If we do manage to get all of that grinding taken care of once we've got that panel welded in, we're going to go ahead and start on the repair for that rear lower quarter. We're missing chunks of the Travelall at this point, and with the new fender arch coming down as low as it does, we're probably going to change that whole back angle. So let's get stuck into this and see just how far we can get. As I continue to try and figure out exactly how to fit this thing together, I figured the next step is to remake this section to the shape of the rocker, because it's going to replace that much of the back of the rocker, basically. I still have this template that I made those original rocker patches from, and that red line is that line. So basically what I think I need to do is bend this thing around until it gives me the shape that I need here. And I'm also kind of thinking it might just be easier to remove this inner lip completely from this lower section where I'm working, build the rocker, and then replace the lip afterward. It's probably going to be my best bet. So there's a little bit more work I can do on that fender before it's really ready to install. But a lot of the work is done at this point. A little bit of grinding, some cleaning, that sort of thing. But really most of the work is done on that fender arch. And I've just been playing with that, trying to avoid a prep step I knew was coming and I just really didn't want to deal with. But I think we've gotten to the point where it's time to suck it up and get it done. Let's get some light here. There is, inside this door frame, this is the wheel arch opening from outside and inside. So we're up inside that fender. And you can see there is a lot of rust all through here. It's not as bad down through there. Whatever coating they sprayed on it seemed to have worked, except for down in that corner that I'm going to be rebuilding anyway. But right through here, there's a lot of rust damage, and you can also see when I was cutting apart, I put a real nice gouge in it right there. That'll have to be re-welded and cleaned up. It's inside the pocket of that, so that'll make it fun. But this is what I've been avoiding. The next big step is going to be prepping all of this rust, trying to remove what I can, throw some rust coating at the rest of it, just so we can hope for the longest life we can reasonably expect, since I'm not acid dipping this thing or anything. And I think that's going to start by removing what's left of this panel down here so I can get in behind it, really get everything cleaned out and coat it over. Here we go. So there's this lip here that runs down the whole quarter panel. And down here at the very bottom, here and here, we've got some rust holes. You can see the edge of the quarter panel here and the holes inside it. So I've just whipped up this little piece, and we'll patch that and get this shaped back to where it needs to be. And then I think this section of the quarter is at least ready for the installation of the new patch panel. So with the patch mounted on the vehicle again, you can see more or less how things are going to line up. That gap's a little big, but should be fine. These will weld together along there pretty well. And then we're just going to cut up along here, all the way up to there. We're just going to cut down that line along that edge to weld all of that together. One of the big things I've been struggling to figure out is how I'm going to enclose all of this wheel tub. So what I'm thinking at this point, as you can see, it sticks up over there, and it sticks up above right here. So I think I'm just going to add some more vertical here until it sticks up all the way along the existing tub. And then I can just weld those two together, and it'll create a weird step inside the wheel well, but I don't think that will matter for any reason whatsoever. So I think that is probably the next step, to weld the patch on top of this so that we can have the next part ready for install. So we've got that patch fully tacked into place. You can see it's pretty level everywhere. The technique I use to install this piece and cut out the panel from behind it is, again, from Fitzy's Fabrications. He calls it the cut and butt. And it works great for getting exactly fitted panels. Over here, you can see our door gap closes up a little bit here at the bottom, but, you know, that's all right. We can live with that. And then the other thing that I did here is I shaped all of this to fit the rocker template that I already had. And that turned out pretty nice. This corner's not quite in the same place, but a little bit of hammering, I think I can get these two to line up quite well. I do still have to do a couple of welds back on the inside, a couple of spot welds to tie these two panels together. I just wanted to put it back together the way it was stock, so that it just gave that basic appearance. And then obviously there's still some grinding to do there. I haven't even tried to fix that, but what I'll do is weld in a patch and then just trim the angle on this so that it's nice and smooth. I'm not really sure how this line is really going to turn out when I weld it and smooth it. It gave me a little bit of trouble. I think there's a little bit of outward bow on this panel that was not present here. So I really had to fight, and you know, I put a couple of big dents in it trying to use something to pry this out. Then you saw me just welding that little rod and pulling on that. Overall, I think it worked pretty well, but I do think there's a slight change in curve shape here, which will probably result in kind of a divot that I can't really hammer out or anything either. So unfortunately, I'm going to do my very best, but after that, I think this line for sure will have a little bit of filler to cover that divot. And then back here, this is the back of the quarter. You can see I only brought it down to right here. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Right here is body line, a change of shape pretty drastically that you can see right here. And it sort of tucks in a little bit. However, this is part of the Tahoe. This is what a floor pan dropout, basically. And I've never liked how high the back quarter was compared to the rocker. The back quarter used to come maybe to here before it all rusted out at the most, and that's a good 2-3 inches higher than the front rocker is. This you can see came across kind of straight right here. This is the factory rocker in the back quarter. And it came all the way across to somewhere up here. I don't like that. I prefer rockers to be pretty similar height on either side of a wheel arch. So I don't know exactly where this is going to fall yet. I may still have to reshape it a bit, but overall it's more or less okay. And then it's all going to slope upward from there. If I can do this one-handed, the YouTube one-hander. So that will be the new rocker line. It will still come up to more or less the factory height, I think, but it will drop all the way down to there at a steeper angle. It's a little bit more of a modern design. A lot of contemporary stuff is designed that way. However, this quarter does actually sit above the height of the rear bumper from the Tahoe. And if you remember, I'm integrating that rear bumper into the body. So it might be that I do bring this whole thing down just a couple of inches so that it's at the very worst, maybe very least, I don't know, level with the height of this. Also, I have not tried to fit the rear bumper at all, so I don't really know where the rear bumper falls in this. If it will come down far enough, or if maybe I want to actually drop the bumper, maybe let's just say 2 inches, and then this panel's in pretty bad shape anyway, so maybe make a new drop down panel here that comes all the way down to here and fills that space. So there's still lots to figure out. I'm going to build in, I don't know if I'm even going to build in this quarter until I'm ready to look at the rear, because really I need to tie all those pieces together. Also, I've got some pretty good whammos right here. There's actually 3 of them. 1, 2, 3 on this thing. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about those either. It's really hard to get into that corner. I may not worry about them at all until later. Overall, I am happy with the look. I'm happy with the flare. I think it's going to blend in quite nicely. I don't regret the Dakota decision. Alright, well we got that patch all welded in. I'm sure it could have gone worse, but it definitely could have gone better. I'm looking at 2 completely independent problems, both of which make this patch worse than it should have been. The first, I'm pretty sure that the shielding gas line inside my welder cord, this, has a crack in it. Because even though I can look at my regulator and see that gas is definitely flowing, I get welds that act like there's absolutely no gas at all. And if I just hold the welder at a different angle or I put a little less stress on some part of it, suddenly it'll work again. So I've got to order a new one of those. Gonna get one of those ordered in. So what I end up with is I have good weld, crappy porous weld. And I'm going to have to go back and clean a lot of that up, I'm sure. Re-weld and cut those welds out and re-weld and all that fun. Additionally, I thought I was doing a really good job controlling the heat on this. I would run my hand across it. I'd make a few tacks and then I'd sit and wait. And I could always touch it. It never got crazy hot. But nevertheless, I was wrong about that. Here, you can see there's really not much of a gap. But as we work our way down, you can see just how freaking much that gap opens up. And while not all of that is completely problematic, some of that is part of the shape of the fender itself, I think. But overall, you can see there is, you can almost, let's try getting some light in there. Maybe you can't see as well as I thought. So as we work our way down, that gap becomes pretty big. I may have 1/4 of an inch there. I cannot access behind this panel in any reasonable manner to try and hammer it out. So I'm going to have to do what I was trying to avoid doing. And I'm going to have to cut all the spot welds up in here. And there's a good at least 30 spot welds across this inner wheel arch. So I will cut those spot welds and remove the inner arch, which I was trying to leave in place. Then I'll be able to get in here and try hammering a bunch of this out, stretching the metal back out so that I can get a halfway decent shape across here. And then from there, I have to go back to figuring out the inner fender. And at this point, since I have to remove that inner fender anyway, I'm wondering if my best bet is really just to try something like a trailer fender. Maybe just buy one of those, cut out most of the Tahoe. I'll already have the Dakota parts out, and then just build a new wheel arch from scratch. That might be my best option. I don't like that option. It's a whole bunch of new work. It's also more expensive because I have to buy more parts, and I always hate that. But at this point, I don't know if anything else really makes good sense. So I'm going to have to start cutting some spot welds, and we'll just go from there. Super frustrated right now. I really thought I was doing a better job than that, but boy howdy, I was wrong. Did this once already and it seemed to help quite a bit. So I'm gonna keep going. Alright, so it's probably been around an hour since I turned the camera off after I'd started trying to hammer all of this back out, during which time I've just been hammering away with various things, trying to stretch the metal enough to get some of the shape back. And it's gone decently well. You can see, well, let me turn on the light again. That was our problem last time. So right above the weld, you can see now, looks pretty good. It's not 100% perfect, but my deviations are less than a 1/16th, maybe even a 32nd. So that's pretty good. Also, the body line that was here, while not perfect has come back quite a bit. I may have to re-accent that line a little bit with body filler, and fortunately for everyone, I suck with body filler, so if I even get there, we'll see what happens. And up above that, you can see right here, around 12 to 17 basically, still needs some work. And then again over here, like 23 to 30 kind of idea. As we move up on the fender, we're still looking at the same basic places, but up here is quite a bit better. So as frustrating and demotivating as warping this entire fender really was, and having to cut all of that extra metal out, which I wasn't planning on, but in the end will probably work out better. I was trying to skimp, and now it's not going to let me, etc., etc. But as bad as that all was, I'm a lot of the way recovered. Honestly, finishing these parts will probably still take at least another hour. Maybe more. Consequence of not having any idea what I'm doing, I've never welded in a panel like this, especially on a panel so large and so basically flat before. So putting this patch in really pulled everything down. And I've found that 90% of fixing this has come from just hammering along the weld, re-stretching the metal right where it pulled the most. Yeah, I do have to do some more work up here, there's no doubt about that, but much of the fixing has come just from re-stretching the weld. This is all flattened out, this is completely flattened out, and that body line has returned automatically just by stretching that weld. And those are things I kind of understood in concept, but I'm really learning how they work now. There's still a lot of work to be done. I haven't even tried to stretch down the sides at all very much, just barely around the corner. And I'm sure that will help this transition if I stretch that a little bit. So, I'm just going to get back to work on the stretching. And hopefully we can have this thing to a reasonable point. I'm no coach builder by any means, so it will not be finish grade metalwork. It's not going to be a file finish, but it might be enough to be all right. Back to it. Well, guys, that's all the time we have for this episode. That was not the most fun I've ever had. Welding in this panel proved once again I am nowhere near as smart as I think I am. But I didn't want to end it on a low note, so went ahead, pushed through, got all of that hammered back out to a pretty good point. Next up is going to be rebuilding the lower quarter and figuring out exactly what we want to do there. I think I'm going to change the line like I discussed earlier in this video, so we've just got to figure out exactly how we want that to go, what we're going to put in there, start welding that piece in as well. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it.